Hey garden friends, a little bit different video today because we're actually doing some wild foraging out on our property and collecting yarrow. Yarrow, yay. Yarrow is one of those herbs that can be used for so many different things, especially sickness. This is an herb you definitely want to have on hand during the winter months when you're experiencing, different ailments that tend to affect your family. And I'm just so blessed that we have so much of it on our property. Part of me doesn't like cutting it because it's just such a pretty flower. This is what the yarrow flower looks like. This one's a little past its prime bloom state. And it's got these really pretty little frilly leaves on it, which is important to note whenever you're harvesting yarrow. You don't want to get it confused with some other plants that can actually be quite poisonous, like hogweed and hemlock. Make sure whenever you are harvesting that you've done your research to know what you're looking for. So with the yarrow, you're looking for this sort of umbrella type flower, right? With these leaves that are quite spindly and spread out and look feathery like this. This is what we're looking for. But we are just out here. We're going to collect both the flowers and the leaves. Both can be used for different ailments. And we're gonna go in the house and dry them and eventually use them for both tea, salves, and tinctures. Now the yarrow that we're cultivating today is wild yarrow. I didn't plant it, it's been planted from seed. I don't know, I need to actually look up where yarrow is from. I don't know if it's native to this area or not, but it's definitely prolific. And this is the type that you can use for medicinal purposes. You can also buy all different cultivars of yarrow in all different colors, pinks, orange, yellows, and they're a beautiful plant to have in your garden. I love yarrow, and I'll actually take a picture here in a minute of the one that I have growing in my garden for more ornamental purposes than medicinal purposes. But this yarrow we're going to be using for medicinal purposes. The other thing to note about yarrow whenever you're making sure that you have the correct plant is to make sure it's about 2 to 3 or maybe sometimes 4 feet tall. That's about as tall as it gets, about like knee or thigh high. If it's much taller than that, upwards of 6 to 8 feet, you might be working with hemlock. So again, I'm just emphasizing, make sure you're paying attention to the floral arrangement, sort of like an umbrella with these really feathery, wispy leaves. Yarrow is also a member of the aster family. So asters are clearly your asters, your sunflowers and daisies and chamomile, all those flowers that have that sort of daisy look are in the aster family, and yarrow is as well. Some of the uses for yarrow that we'll specifically be using him for are to relax the body, to normalize the blood. So now we don't have blood pressure issues in our family, but you absolutely could drink yarrow for tea to help normalize the flow of blood and circulation. You can drink it for if you have colds and flus going on in your house. It's an antimicrobial. It's also a styptic herb, which can be used to help stop bleeding. So if you know the story behind yarrow, its Latin name is Achilles millefolium. I'd have to write it down. And it goes back to the mythical Greek warrior Achilles, and his mother put yarrow all over him in some medicinal, it was either a salve or a tincture, I'm not sure which form she used when he was a young baby, and that is what gave him his strength and protected him. But the one spot that she did not cover was his heel, and if you know the story of Achilles' heel, you know that is how he died, because he was killed in the one weak spot of his body where the yarrow was not placed. So yarrow does have so many purposes and has been used all throughout history for wound healing, for blood stopping, for regulating female systems when it comes to your menstrual system. It can be used for that, and there's just so many uses, and I will try to do a more thorough list down below. But honestly, just smelling it, rubbing it in your fingers and smelling the leaves, that wonderful scent can just be so relaxing. And I've been told that you can actually rub the actual leaves on your temple much like you would do with peppermint to help relieve a headache or stress. But to me, just smelling it is the way to go. So obviously, if you make this into a salve or a tincture, you can put a little bit on your temples to help relieve stress or anxiety or headaches. So whenever you're harvesting yarrow, the main thing you want to do is the head. You can just snip it off with scissors like we're doing, or because it's quite a strong stem, it's easier to use scissors. And then the leaves are super easy to collect. You just run your finger down the stem from top to bottom, like so. And you have your leaves. And then you'll just lay these on the counter and dry them and then use them for your purposes. Like I said, we're going to be using for tea. I'm also going to make a tincture, so I'll be soaking these in 80 proof vodka for probably 6 weeks, and then eventually we'll extract that out and I'll have a tincture that I can use to rub on chests for congestion or temples for headaches. Or to take internally for all different kinds of things. Yarrow tea is great for another one of those teas you want to drink at night just to soothe your body as you're ready for sleep, or if you're an anxious person, drinking yarrow tea is really great for anxiety. There's just so many uses. I can't even list them all on the camera, so I'll list them below. But yarrow is just one of those really great herbs to have on hand, especially if you're getting started. It's super easy to grow. It's almost considered a weed because of how prolific it comes back every year. So keep that in mind when you're deciding where you want to plant it. But it's such a beautiful angelic flower that I'm kind of thinking, why would you not want this to come back every year? But if you have this plant in your yard, don't get rid of it because there's so many uses for it. So we're going to continue to harvest this. And then take it inside and dry it. So again, yarrow, just a great plant to have on hand. Super easy to collect the seeds once the flowers have dried and either direct sow them into your ground, spread them out if you've got property or backyard, and they'll reseed really easily. You could clearly grow them in your house, although I have found it's just easier to plant them directly in the ground and they'll come back every year. So go find this plant. I'm not sure, most nurseries have the more cultivar varieties with the pretty colors. I actually was going to order medicinal yarrow as a start from a company, and then noticed that it was growing prolifically on my property, so I didn't have to order any. But you can search up medicinal yarrow seeds or medicinal yarrow plant starts if you want to grow it on your property or in your backyard. So I highly recommend yarrow as a beautiful thing to add to your garden, but also a really useful item to have on hand, especially throughout the entire season, but definitely during the cold and flu season. So I hope you've enjoyed this video, a little take on the wild foraging here at Pepper and Pine. And if you've enjoyed it, consider subscribing, share it with someone you think it might be useful for. And as always, my name's Landon Gilfillan here at Pepper and Pine Garden Design, growing gardeners and their gardens. And I'll see you in the next video.